David Denniston back with us. We had him on the Land Investing Business Secrets podcast, episode number 96, which recently launched. And we talked all about how much he has going on. Not only does he have his own financial business, he's also got several land businesses. And we are hanging out here live. We're actually renaming this. We're calling it the Pebble AMA Hangouts, where you can literally ask us anything. Both myself and Dave here, well, we've got him here. He's going to be sitting with us for the next 20, 30 minutes type of thing. So if you guys have a question, I know there's going to be a bit of delay here. And hopefully some of you guys join us live here. I know a lot of you guys are going to watch this as a recording, but feel free to get your questions. If you're on YouTube, I believe you can just throw it in the comments or something on there, or some chat on there. And then same with Facebook. But you know what? I'm going to kick it off here, Dave. Dave, thanks so much, first of all, for hanging out with us here today.
Yeah, I'm glad to be on this thing. I was a little bit late, so my apologies. I wasn't sure what link to use, but here we are.
It's sort of like, okay, we're just gonna go live type of thing. Here you are. Let's just go live. But anyways, David, since the launch of your show, and and I've had a chance to talk with several other people who've just hopped on calls with me. Just they love the episode, and one thing that I recently heard about, I did a post about events.
Oh no!
Can you give us the name of your event?
Yeah. So the Land Unconference, I guess you could. It's really become the name of like another company, more than like the event. So it's if you go to landunconference.com, you could check out the one we're doing literally in like a week, which registration's closed. You can't even register for it at this particular point.
So the event is happening where?
Here in beautiful Minnesota, very warm and toasty, 80 degrees Minnesota. No, it's like, but that particular one, as a matter of fact, at that event, we're going to be announcing a couple of other ones that we are doing. And I'm not going to spoil it, but let's just say we're going to be going to a couple of really cool places that people are going to want to be there.
Hey, so, I've been hearing about the Land Unconference, and what do you think makes your event so special that people love it?
Yeah. Well, I think the title kind of gives it away, which I have to give credit to Callan Faulkner, our good friend, who when we had the event in 2022, she and Ajay Sharma and some of our other mutual friends were at, and Drew Haney was there. And when we masterminded there, I was trying to come up with, hey, I want to do more than like 10 people. How can I make the same kind of special, intimate event bigger? And so Callan came up with the title of the Land Unconference, because the whole idea being so many events that we go to, there's someone or some people in the front of the room that they are speaking to you. And the whole idea of this event being essentially a bunch of really different masterminds running at the same time, being that we're talking together, but it's not just one mastermind happening at the same time. There's 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 masterminds all happening, and then people getting a chance to network and talk and stuff like that. And that's why I'm probably never going to make it big. Like Justin Sleva puts on a great event, and Adam Southey with what they do usually around September, which, they're trying to have like 100+ people come to that event. And when you get that big, it's awesome and great way to meet lots and lots of people, but you lose some of the intimacy that I'm trying to build in a multi-day event like we're doing with this.
Sure. Okay. Hey, I see you guys are live on here with us. So make sure, if you have any questions for David, this is a AMA, an Ask Me Anything session, either for myself or for David. If you guys have anything whatever platform you're on and joining us live from, make sure you throw it in there. I hope it comes through on our platform. We're using Restream.io. Okay, cool. So we were just talking about Dave's event, the Land Unconference here. I've heard a lot of great stuff. What do you think you're going to improve on for the next event then?
Yeah. So in January, we're doing a trip to Puerto Rico, which is
Wow.
myself, Drew Haney, and Jaron Barnes leading a
Yes.
team with 7 other guys. And that's going to be a more intimate, a whole week that we're together. So that'll be a totally different feel from
Yeah.
the major unconference that happens in May. In May, and so in that event, we're going to be doing masterminding half the day, kind of like what you did in Korea with
Mhm.
them. But in addition to that, we'll do half a day of fun, and it's going to last like a whole week. So we'll have 5 solid days together, and travel day in, travel day out. So a lot of chance to have some fun, maybe get some surfing lessons, go snorkeling, or scuba diving or something. Go maybe take a ATV out in the jungles of Puerto Rico. So that's that event. And then in May, that's the actual unconference itself, if you will, which is going to be here in Minnesota, which is a beautiful
Yeah.
time of the year here. There's no snow in May. And just like I'm sure for you in Canada, right? It gets to be warmer. People can actually go outside.
Yeah.
We're switching it up a little bit. We had a little bit of the traditional conference this last time in May of 2023. May of 2024, I'm looking at instead kind of having breakouts instead.
Mm,
So I have some breakouts, and then we'll break into masterminds separately kind of after that. So we'll be
gotcha.
experimenting with some stuff, trying things out. Some of the feedback that I got the last time was, hey, it would be cool rather than being with the same group the whole time. What if we
Yeah.
break it up some? So I'm going to try, which is going to make, honestly, it makes a lot more work for us to figure out who's together and what group and where are they going to be at and stuff like that. But it's 50
Sure.
people, so 5 groups of 10. It'll be manageable, but we'll try some stuff around that just to let people like, hey, if you want to hang out with Seth Williams, this group's going to be with him. Then we'll switch it up. Maybe that same group will be with Justin Sleva, or maybe
Right.
someone starts out with Callan, and then they'll end up being with Ajay Sharma later in the day. So we really
That's
have
awesome.
some wonderful moderators, and people still have the chance to hang out. We'll probably have a couple of VIP events that people could hang out with Justin or myself and Callan and other people, regardless of who kind of your moderator is for the event.
Very, very cool. It sounds like very exciting stuff, and it's always nice to be able to connect with people in the space and as influential as you guys are in the space as well. So if people want to learn more, that's landunconference.com. I know I spoke about it last time as well. Guys, you are joining us live. If you have any questions, don't be shy. Even drop by to say hello to David here. I'm going to keep it going here. I've got questions lined up here for David. So I wanted to ask you this last time, and I didn't get a chance to. If you had to start it all over again with land specifically, how would you, knowing what you know now,
Mhm.
okay, and when did you start again?
So I started in literally 6 years ago, pretty
Okay.
much today. I think I bought the course in July, but I actually started
Okay.
mailing in October of 2017.
Okay. So let's say you were to get started again. Let's say now. How would you do it to get to where you are as quick as possible? What would you do? What may be some of those tactical things that you might just do? Give us a bit of a play by play.
Yeah. Well, Jesse, I think what's hard today that wasn't the thing back then is there's so many different things you could do. There's texting, there's ringless voicemails, there's cold calling, there's of course mailing, right? So for someone that's just starting out, I mean, all of these choices are like crazy overwhelming.
Yeah.
I know some of our friends like Clint Turner say, hey, if you don't have much money, just start looking up properties on a county website, or something like that.
Mhm.
Or do texting, because requires a lot of time, but it's relatively cheap, right? You do
Yeah.
mail, it's more expensive, but then you're dealing with less people responding. So it takes less time on the backside. I think for me personally, in my situation, just because I have my financial planning business, and I have a podcast that I do, my
Yeah.
time is something that I'm protective of. So
Hmm.
for me personally, even though it costs more money, I think mail is still the right place to start, just because you're going to get warmer people that are
Yep.
responding. Of course, you still have some hate. You have some people that'll say screw you and get away. And it is more expensive, but I think it does help to filter out and takes less time to respond to people. So if it were me
Mm,
today, I'd start out with mail. Knowing what I know, I think when you do mailing, I think you really have to have a budget of like 10 to 20,000 to start out.
okay. And
So
how long should that last you for?
well, it depends on the kind of mailing you're doing, right? I
Yep.
mean, um, I think in this world today, if I were starting out, I one of the things I've always emphasized, which I still very much believe in, is you can't just mail one place. You can't just mail two places. I would be mailing multiple markets at the same time. I still
Wow.
do it
Okay.
today. You know, um, Mail 5 or 6 markets at the same time just to see what's working and what's not working. I think probably. Um, I would emphasize doing a neutral letter over a blind offer,
Very interesting. Yeah.
because that way you don't have to worry about all of the analysis on the front end of what the heck should
Mm,
I offer people. So I
right.
think that's a great way to start. Although after some time, if that isn't working for you, you're going to have to be
Hmm.
ready to pivot and try doing blind offers, because this everything's moving so quickly. There's a lot of changes happening. You have to be
Yeah.
willing to pivot and move sooner rather than later. Even better, if you can do a split test of a blind offer versus a neutral letter, if you have enough volume. Like, let's
Yep.
say you're going to send out 10,000 letters, do 5,000 neutral, 5,000 blind. But that does
Yep.
require more effort on the blind to come up with the number of what you're going to offer these people.
With someone who's just starting out and figuring out pricing, is there some easy way, again, as you're getting started, how would you do pricing? I mean, then again, I'm saying, you know what you know now. How would you go about pricing?
Yeah.
Is there a simple rule of thumb?
Well, number one, it depends on the market, right? You have some counties that have very few comps, right? So if you're going into a market that doesn't have many comps, I'm going to use county-wide pricing. And what I mean by not many is, let's say you and I tend to focus on certain acreage range sizes: 1 to 2 acres,
Mm,
2 to 5 acres, 5 to 10 acres, 10 to 20, 20 to 40,
okay.
40 to 100. So I segment my list based on size when I'm
Okay.
doing it. And then once you're within that, if you're finding, like, let's say you're doing 1 to 2 acres and across the whole county, there's less than 15 comps, I'm just going to use county-wide pricing, which is actually really flippin' easy to do.
Correct.
Now, let's say you have 100 comps. There's a lot of comps, right, to choose from. Now, what I'm going to do, I'm going to start looking at my list. So you pull data from wherever you pull data from, whether you're scraping it, or downloading something from the county or data tree or wherever the heck you're getting the list from. Um, Land Vision, that a lot of people are using nowadays. I would start to look
Yeah.
to see, are there big subdivisions within
Hmm.
this list? And then I would just focus geographically on where those subdivisions are and price based on things within the subdivision. Now, of course, you can still be off. There might be property by the water. There might be property that has a bunch of beautiful trees up on a mountainside. But don't worry about that. Just come up with something and get it out there. The more specific you can be, the more likely is you'll get people to respond. But then there's that time aspect, right? I would rather spend less time and send more mail than spend
Mm,
a ton of time and send less mail. Just because there's always the chance you're going to be wrong on these things anyhow. Better to get
right.
something out there than not at all, is my perspective on that.
Love it. David, thank you for going into such detail there for us to help us understand how you would get started if you were to start today. Um, Guys, I do see you guys here. If you want to say hello, if you want to ask a question here, David's here. I know a lot of you guys are going to watch this later and might drop your questions later. Certainly, we'll answer them in the comments. And if it's something specific, I'll get it over somehow to David and he can sort of answer it in the comments on YouTube or Facebook. Okay, so you are running multiple things. You're truly an entrepreneur here. And you've got a financial advising business as well, correct?
Yes, sir.
Would you, I mean, you're continuing to run that, and I think you last time explained to me you've got personal reasons why you like doing it, and you enjoy that. um have you ever thought about quitting your full time, and B, would you suggest people to quit their full time to go into land if they're finding success in land?
Ooh, good questions. So have I ever thought about it? On a really bad day, maybe, but most of the time, I've built relationships up with people for like 20 years. I mean, many people, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20 years I've been working with people, right? So I have relationships and friendships. I've seen their kids grow up. I've seen some people retire. I've seen some people pass away. So I'm too tied, and I'm a business owner, right? So there's no one telling me what I have to do when I have to do it. I can set my schedule and figure out when I want to do it. So I'm in a unique situation versus someone in a W-2 that they're being told when they have to show up, if they can work remote or not. How much vacation they can go on. I can take as much vacation or as little vacation as I want, right? So in that business, someone I think with a W-2, I think as the financial planner in me, I want to make sure that you have a really substantial cash cushion or cash flow or something that you can fall back on, just in case something goes wrong. And being a business owner, and having gone through the 2008 crisis, you want to have backup. You don't want to have to go back to work, right? So, one of the things I think you see a lot of land investors doing is they get vertically integrated, meaning
Mhm.
that in order to have multiple streams of income, they will have cash deals, they'll have notes, they get into deal funding, they get into um, subdivides. They have multiple streams of income. So if one thing isn't working, hey, they got something else going on. That's why a lot of people have coaching programs and all this stuff, because that's vertical integration of the land business. Some people have land selling sites or whatever. So I'm not saying people have to do all of those things, but as you think about going full time, think about what are all your different streams of income. I think of someone like Jason Woolbrink. He has a bunch of rental houses and he has his land business and he has income streams coming from this and that. I mean, it's a great setup where you're not fully dependent on land cash flips in case something happens. Now, that being said, there's people who are far more ballsy than me and just go full out and say, screw all of that. I'm tired of what I'm doing. I just need to move on emotionally and be done with whatever I'm doing. God bless them.
Mm.
People have succeeded doing that, but that's generally not what I would suggest doing until you got, at least a cash cushion. The beautiful thing with everyone funding deals nowadays, if you have that cash cushion, you don't have to touch it, right? Just find people to fund your deals. You might even be able to find someone to fund your mailers. So that way you can keep your cash cushion and not tap into it if you do go full-time land.
I love it. I think for you specifically, it looks like you found the freedom that you're looking for within your own businesses, and I think it's important. I think people figure out where do they want to be, what is land supposed to be for them, and that probably plays a huge factor into, uh, if you do leave your W-2 or you do leave your business to go full in on land. So I love that, and thanks for sharing your sort of personal side of things with that. So you're a money guy. You're in the financial sort of area. What would you say is the biggest money or financial hack for land investors?
Ooh, biggest money or financial hack. Well, if you have left your W-2 job, and so now you're no longer W-2, having an S corporation is huge, where now you pay yourself a payroll. So hopefully far less than the FICA limits where you have to pay Medicare and Social Security on it, that can hugely help you. I would also suggest, in a lot of those cases, a lot of people would do really well by having like an owner only 401k where you can put
Mm.
money in and you can borrow up to 50% of that
Oh,
back. So
wow.
if you just put in a huge contribution, you could borrow back from yourself. You have to pay that back, of course. But I think those two things are basics that I've seen people miss out on. Like you could literally save yourself tens of thousands of dollars by applying those two small things.
They wanted to learn more about that. Where should they go? Sort of dig a little bit further on that.
Well, there's always YouTube and Google, and
There you
if
go.
you talk to your CPA, certainly they could help you out with that. If people have questions about how to do that, I do hourly consulting. So whether it's about land or about tying this stuff together, certainly I'm totally happy to help, and they can reach out to my assistant, Robbie, assistant@daviddenniston.com, if you want to chat.
Awesome. Guys, we're still here live. I know there are people here. I can see it. If you have any questions, maybe you're just listening intently, you're at work and you can't engage, that's totally fine. And if you're watching this a little bit later, please leave us a comment or a question. David, I've got another question here for you. What would you say is the biggest lesson of 2023 personally, and then in regards to your land business? So let's start with the land business, and then we'll talk about the personal side.
Yeah. So the biggest lesson. This year for me personally has been really weird. January and February were like super slow on buying and selling. It's like everything came to kind of a screeching halt. And I was like, holy crap. I have all this payroll happening. I was starting to think about, reducing people's hours, or am I going to have to let some people go or whatever, because it was starting to get so slow. And then thank goodness, March through September were awesome for the business. We've really added to our business where we have a lot of terms contracts. Like overall, if you look at our terms, we have about 80,000 a month coming in, which is a blessing and wonderful. And then we have about $1 million of cash deals usually, but a lot of that smaller stuff. And so we really started, I wouldn't say a pivot, because we still do a lot of terms deals and cheaper stuff, but we're starting to add more and more medium and larger size things. And it's been, this year has been a bit of a challenge, because now with doing those, you have to send out more contacts, more mail, all of that stuff. We got into text messaging, which Callan has a wonderful course, has a great coaching program, but it's hard. And when you have a lot of plate spinning, as I do, to oversee it, I haven't been doing a great job of supervising and getting that going. And then we're hiring more people in order to do everything that we want to do. And it's been a really weird year. So I think if I were to advise myself earlier in the year, it would have been great as things kind of started getting better, that maybe we had hired earlier. Would have been great, just to, because I kind of knew where I was heading, but I was kind of testing the waters, and we had a few really great sales. So I was like, okay, let's scale this up more, and it would have been great to hire people earlier so we could get to where we're trying to get to. Like I'm trying to send out 50,000 mailers a month, is what we're doing. And it's a lot harder than I thought it would be. In concept, you think about it and it's like, oh yeah, 50,000 mailers, you just download a bunch of data and you do it. Well, when you do what we do, which is the access scrubbing you talked about last time,
Yes. Mm-hmm.
I didn't quite realize what a project that would be, of hiring enough people to get through that volume. Because we're talking about now 80,000 records a month that we're trying to get through. It's a lot of records to have people review one by one and see if there's access or not on properties.
So one of the big things, I guess, big lesson here is to hire earlier. And if you guys didn't catch it about access scrubbing, I had no idea what it was last time, so I did ask Dave here to check out episode number 96 on the Land Investing Business Secrets podcast. So last question here for you, then, Dave. What about on the personal side? What's sort of the big lesson here on the personal side of things?
Oh man,
you don't have to get too personal.
no, that's all right. So my oldest daughter graduated high school this year,
Yeah.
and as it was this beautiful journey of applying to colleges starting about a year ago, and what I wish I would have had her do was apply to more places, because doing well, like many of us do in the land business, like I was thinking, maybe we would get, like, she was applying to some great colleges. She was applying to Cornell and Northwestern and all of these wonderful colleges, and she got into them. But then the financial aid was like paltry. Like Northwestern is charging $90,000 a year, and they offered like $5,000 a year in aid. And there was no way I was going to be popping out, $85,000 a year to pay for college. Well, she also applies to University of Minnesota Twin Cities here, which the all-in cost is like 30 grand a year, and she got like $15,000 worth of scholarships and stuff. So I would have had her apply to more public colleges just to give her a wider array, of places to choose from. So I would suggest that to anyone with, kids, have them apply to lots of different places and get going on that. The other thing that I did that I'm very I've been had my eyes set on for years. I think I mentioned the last time I took out probably about $700,000 of family loans when I made my acquisition of my financial planning business 15 years ago. Before that, we had no debt, but we paid off our mortgage just in August. And I'm so glad.
Congrats.
Thank you. And I'm so glad we did. You never know what can happen in the business world, as I said earlier. And I highly recommend it. Even though the interest rate was super low, obviously we could be making more money than that, but just having the peace of mind, knowing that we never have to think about that again. If I want to tap it, I could, have a home equity line of credit or whatever, but there's currently no payment on that bad boy, which is awesome. So I'm so happy we did. But then part of the personal lesson is, I've been shooting so long for the last 15 years to get back to that point. You get to the top of the mountain and it's like, we did it. And then it's like, this is it. It's kind of like, it's like you build yourself up to think that's going to be some huge thing. And then it happens. It's like, this is kind of disappointing. Like, I thought the heavens were supposed to open up and, rays of light shine down. And so now that I accomplished that goal, it's kind of like, obviously I have a lot of things going on, but I feel kind of like, what's my next thing? And searching for that, but knowing the time constraints I have, I've personally just felt a little bit lost just trying to figure out what do I want to do now at this particular point, to keep growing and stretching. What's the next kind of big goal I can shoot for and stuff like that.
So how do you figure that out? Do you guys just kind of let it marinate for a little bit and hope that something comes your way?
Well, I'm looking at inspired by Seth and others. I love self-storage. And so I'm interested in that concept, but do I have the time with which to dedicate towards that? I've never done subdivides, and Justin and Clint, and I think Travis King, all teach on that kind of stuff. So do I get into another vertical in land and something like that? Or do I just try and do what we're doing with, increasing the mail volume and just sit back and truck along with it? So I don't know. We'll see where it goes. I think talking about it helps. I was talking to someone else earlier about it today, just admitting I don't have it all figured out, and, things are going great. We're blessed, but it's where do I go from here? So
this is the journey, isn't it, Dave?
yeah.
All right, we're out of time here, but I've got one question here from Jason. Do you think SEO is important to finding new prospect in the land business? Are paid ads worth it? Do you have any thoughts on this, Dave?
SEO, I think to me is such because those are two different things, right? SEO and paid ads. So SEO being getting traffic to your website. I think on a buy side website, and you might disagree with me with your expertise, but I think it's so hard to keep up with. And Google is constantly changing the rules. I think to really get great SEO, you have to put out a lot of content, right?
Yeah.
In order to have new things on your website all of the time,
Yeah.
especially text, because that's what they're looking for. Certainly, Chat GPT, can generate some articles and whatever. I think I know Seth Williams has done focused on SEO, and he gets some deals in his land business. That's kind of how
Yeah.
he does it. But I think if you're trying to scale, maybe SEO gets you some. It's not going to allow you to get 10 or 20 deals a month. Can it help? Absolutely. Is it additive? Yes. But is it the number one or two or three or four thing that'll allow you to grow your business? No.
Yeah.
In comparison, paid ads, those are scalable. That is something that can allow you to do that. I'm personally split testing currently as we're getting through all these records and trying to hit that 50,000 mark of doing a split test where I'm putting I already have spent $38,000 towards essentially doing mailers with some cold calling with some paid ads. And so we'll see how that goes. And I'm spending an equal amount of money or close to an equal amount of money just on mailers. So I'm testing that. Literally, I paid for stuff, and now it's just a matter of getting through all the data to get to it. So I don't know the answer to that question yet, but I'm trying to find out to see is that worth it or not. So I suppose we'll have to do another podcast to know the results of that test. But I think doing that kind of split testing today, it takes capital, it takes investment. But we're in such a changing world. All of us should do experiments like that. What if a blind offer versus a neutral offer, like I said earlier? Or what if you do a two-step of doing a neutral letter plus a neutral postcard versus a blind offer? What if you do color versus black and white? Are you getting better results? What about ABC font versus XYZ font? Are you getting better results? What if you do a larger size postcard? What if you do a yellow letter that has coffee stains on it? I think you and it takes capital to get enough volume to test this stuff. But if you're wanting to see what is working, what's not working, that's what you have to do in trying to figure it out. So if anyone wants to strategize on that, I'd love to connect with you, see what tests are you doing, how much money are you spending, how are you going about it. I would love to connect with people on that.
There are definitely a lot of surprises. We get to see a lot of people testing stuff within the platform as well. But and I echo Dave, especially on that SEO side of things. If you can't game, there's no such thing as like SEO being something you can just plug and play. It's not like that. And if you're not blogging to the intensity that Seth is blogging, I just don't think that it is. Like you said, it's additive, but definitely not something I'd focus on. Google changes on a weekly, daily basis on how they handle that stuff. It's not like what it used to be, 6, 7, 8 years ago. So I always tell people, like, forget that. There's so many other things that you can be focused on that'll drive your business forward. So I hope you find that one helpful. Dave, thank you so much for coming on to hang out with me. We had a smaller AMA, it seemed like, but I hope to see some questions come through. I'm sure people are going to find value. They can find you over at daviddenniston.com. They can also learn more about you and your events over at thelandunconference.com. David, I don't think this is the last time I'm going to be chatting. I'm going to drag you on here again. I know I'm going to do so. But it's been a pleasure chatting with you these last couple times. And thank you so much for your time.
You bet. Well, we got to drag you to the unconference too. So
yes, definitely. I will. I'll figure out something when the next one happens. Me and Kevin will make it out together.
Sweet. All right. Thank you so much for having me,
All right.
Jesse.
Awesome.